You're listening to From a Certain Point Askew, the only Star Wars podcast to fail more missions than the Bad Batch and still get served drinks at Sid's Palace. Place? One of the two. I'm Jason Hager, Ginger Jedi Guy. I'm broadcasting live from inside of my very own Wookiee Poo Studios. I'm not alone. I have another podcaster with me. He's sitting in his studio doing his thing. He's part of the dark side. We call him Darth Matthews. Let's bring him in. Welcome to the show, sir. Yes, they're back.
I made a guess that Tribe was going to be Wookiees last week, and that came to fruition. It was good to see the Wookiees again.
Yeah, I would like to see more of the planet not on fire, but
yeah, no shit.
It seems like every time we spend any time on Kashyyyk, it's it's never peaceful.
No, I mean, well, and I was going to bring it up later, and I will again. But the holiday special, the Star Wars holiday special, it was. I mean, there were some issues going on there. The Empire was there, but I don't
know. That was a war of the mind, I think.
But you're right. I think a big part of the lore of Kashyyyk is Chewbacca and others getting enslaved, and the Empire just laying waste to that planet. So this is our chance to see a little bit more of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, if you would like to find our show from a certain point askew.com, please reach out to us on Twitter at FACPApod and email us facpapod@gmail.com. No emails this week. Jay's going to get mad.
What is going on with you lazy ass listeners?
Well, we got some question of the week answers, so that's good. We are part of the Podawans Podcast Network at Podawans on Twitter. We are doing a giveaway, Mandalorian Pulse Nerf Blaster. So if you want a piece of that hot action, I should start posting pictures of that to really promote that better.
And if you want to join OnlyFans, Matt's going to have a really good spread coming for Valentine's Day with just him and that Pulse Blaster.
I need to work on that. Question of the week.
The photo or your abs?
Yeah, I know. I definitely need to work on that. Abs are made in the kitchen, Jay.
Yeah.
Question of the week, if you answer our question of the week, you get one entry into that contest. If you send us a mall bag, you get an entry. And if you write a review, you get 3 entries. Three big entries. You know what? If you write a review, you get 4 entries. Let's fucking go with the reviews. Come on.
Wow. Just
wanted to remind folks that we are supporting the Clashing Sabers book drive. That ends on February 6th. So this is kind of the last time we'll promote it. But they are real close to their goal of $1,000. They were just trying to get Star Wars books in schools. I did make a donation last week and got some entries for it. Ooh. There's some cool stuff you could win. So
I should do that.
Get after that. Go.rallyapp.com/thebookbatch. It's a good cause. And then also just a programming note. Star Wars Podcast Day is coming up next Tuesday, the 7th of February. We're going to do a special kind of little one-off episode for that to join that. I think there's about 100 other podcasts who are participating in it. So we'll do that, and then because of vacations and stuff, we will not be able to put out an episode next week recapping the Bad Batch. So we'll be doing like episodes 7 through 9 the following week, just to let everybody know where we went temporarily. We will have an episode next week, but it'll be before the Bad Batch comes out, and it'll be a one-off.
I mean, the emails of missing us for a week should just start coming in.
So it's going to overflow.
Have plenty to read when we come back from our mini hiatus.
Right, I would think so.
All right, on the show today, we got a question of the week. Run it back. In the news, no security blanket for Linus. Bad Batch episode 6, we're going to discuss Tribe. Then we're going to hit the mall bag. Oh, no, we're not, because you're an asshole and you did not email us. I tell you, I see the numbers. There's enough listeners where, even if it was 1%, we'd get a email.
Just for that, we're not going to give you a factoid. How about that?
Yeah. You lose. So let's go into the question of the week.
Yeah, question of the week. We talked about this last week on the show. A lot of rumors and quotes have emerged lately about prior Star Wars actors hinting at a desire to return to the franchise. Which character would you like to see return, and in what way? So we got, I think, 7 or 8 answers.
I'd really like to see an actor interviewed and be like, you know what? Nah. I have no intentions of ever returning. Fuck that.
Well,
fuck that franchise.
Boyega's sort of said that.
Yeah, but I feel like his comes down to if he has a good script and a good paycheck, he's coming back.
Oh, I think he would, but I think so far he's kind of been doesn't see it in his future. There's certainly people that say that, but I think that's just a bridge you don't want to burn necessarily, or an option you don't want to close off. So you're always going to leave the door open. So, okay, so our answers. Darth Del Rio says, I'm hoping Rey returns in the next films in some capacity. I'm not the biggest fan of the sequels, but do love her character. I think it's important for the franchise to continue telling the Star Wars story of what happens next and explore a new time and settings. And we've talked a lot about the whatever, the good and the bad of the sequel trilogy. And there are definitely some flaws. I mean, I think in retrospect, Force Awakens was a lot of fun because it kind of got us back to that original trilogy feel. 8 and 9 were a bit uneven. I don't know. I think that there's, well, by the way, the other day I was watching, it was on whatever cable channel, the Rise of Skywalker was on. And I was like, man, I forget a lot of this movie. I think I only saw it twice right when it came out. I don't think I've seen it again since. So there were scenes where I was just like, what? Yeah. Oh, that's right. This happens. Totally forgot.
Well, I finished the Shadows of the Sith. Is that what it's called? I finished that, and there's a lot of stuff that kind of goes in and out into that trilogy, and there's parts where I'm like, where did that take place? I'm trying to remember like where that left off or where that plugs into. So yeah, I need to go back and watch it. I mean, I've seen The Force Awakens a million times. That's one of those movies you can just throw on and watch and enjoy.
Absolutely.
The other ones, you're right. There's a couple of parts where I.
Well, and I think I've seen Last Jedi more times than I've seen Rise of Skywalker, which I wouldn't necessarily have thought, but yeah, it's just the way it goes. Thank you, Darth Del Rio. Next is Scarif Podcast. Everyone loves a paycheck.
Okay.
Disney just needs to work in story first before anything else. So not so much worried about the characters, but the story, which is fair. Because it's all going to come down to that. If you don't have a good story, then what's the point?
Right. I think they've proven that they're headed that way, right? With the stuff that we've seen with Bad Batch and the way that stories, Mandalorian, everything seems to kind of interweave with each other now. So I think it's there.
I think it's more cohesive than it was. Felt like they rushed to get everything back. Like, hey, let's get these fucking movies out. And then now they're like, well, let's pump the brakes. Let's make sure everything aligns, blah, blah, blah. So next up, Kristen Meyer. Shout out Kristen Meyer. She says, the girl from the best of the Star Wars movies, no arguing. What's her name, Chris? The girl with my favorite guy that also died? Worst ending ever.
So they're just going to talk to each other through this show.
Right. Yes.
Now he has to respond next week to the show.
He already responded.
Oh, okay.
He responded to that tweet and he said, Jyn Erso? That would take some serious writing gymnastics to explain her survival. Well, of course they can go back and tell stories prior to her death, Chris.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and as far as worst ending ever, I mean, it was the ultimate sacrifice. I mean, I would like to have seen Jyn and Cassian survive and raise little rebel children and all that, but they had to give up for the cause, Yeah,
it's really the anti-celebration ending of the Star Wars movies.
It is.
No medals being given out for this one.
No drumming on stormtrooper helmets, none of that. Chris's real response, though, because he had one, Chris Meyer, he says, Salacious Crumb. Turns out he was an intergalactic Pole agent sent to spy on the Hutts. This would be his tell-all book turned to film series called The Hutts, The Inner Workings of a Well-Fed Crime Family.
I like this.
I like where his head's at. I mean, we do see some of those monkey lizards in the Mando Season 3 trailer, so maybe Salacious Crumb's in there. Maybe this is where it's all going to start. Chris has the idea.
I like this. I want a From a Certain Point of Skew story.
I think there should be.
You start writing that, Chris, and we'll read it. We'll read it on air.
Speaking of that, we have almost finished, because I read that to my younger son. We've almost finished the first one, the one that's parallels A New Hope, from a certain point of view. And now we're going to start Empire next. So they're fun stories. Some of them are kind of but there's a lot of fun stories in there. By the way, you get a lot, if anybody's interested in that, you get a lot of backstory on different pilots and such that are in the Battle of Yavin. They really get in deep with a bunch of different ones. You get more context on Porkins, exactly what his situation is.
Really? You get a Porkins backstory, huh?
Get some a little bit of Porkins backstory. He's not one of the characters that tells his story, but he's talked to and referenced in the build-up. It's pretty funny.
The Legend of Porkins.
The Legend of Porkins. Clashing Sabers next. We mentioned them earlier. Their book drive. As much as I want more Rey content, I really loved Alden's Han. I think the fact that the fact that we have launching points and harbor points for his story could make exploring his character a lot fun. I agree, 100%. I mean, they left that movie in a place that was wide open.
Yeah.
Like you can go in any direction you want and tell all sorts of stories.
This is the podcast to, write that story in because we agree. We want that movie. If it were up to us, we'd pay for it. But, right now we're raising kids, so we're keeping our millions.
Next up, Just Plain Ken. Honestly, I would like Rey to return and be written well with a fleshed out story. So, again, bring her back. But
see, don't you argue that, though? If everyone so far is wanting Rey to return. So I would think the argument would be that the character was written well enough.
I think it was written well enough. I think the actress obviously played it extremely well. And that's the thing. In the end, I don't feel like, maybe I'm missing it, but I don't feel like a lot of people don't like Rey. I think they don't like how they treated the lineage as far as Palpatine or her taking the Skywalker name or all those different things. But in the end, I think they liked her and her performance. So it makes total sense for her to come back. Brian Auer, Maz Kanata. Oh, a man after my own heart. She'd be great spanning most of the current series. Missions for the Dad Batch, helping with Grogu while Mando wrestles up business, a place for Ahsoka to look for Thrawn. I'm all on board with this. Ever since The Force Awakens, I've been a big Maz Kanata fan. And she's one of those characters that lives for a gazillion years. We didn't see her die in the Rise of Skywalker. There's a ton of stories to tell in her cantina and everything, or whatever you want to call that, her bar. I mean, there's a lot you could tell there.
I agree. And he's right. Like, she's a character. There's no reason why you wouldn't believe that these characters would know her or at least swing by the bar at some point.
Right. Takodana Tales or something like that.
Okay.
Next up is Bryce Nehart. I think is how you say that name. I think Kenobi season 2 is going to happen. I also hope Alden and Daisy return as well. Yeah, I mean, I'd be surprised at this point if Kenobi season 2 doesn't happen.
Right.
And yeah, of course, Alden and Daisy. I mean,
I want to see Alden and Daisy in the same Star Wars movie together. That'd be
that would be something. And finally, Mike Laybourne. Cyril's mom. Mike, she has a name. It's Gladys. I'm just kidding. It's not Gladys. It's Edie, though. It's pretty close. But as a Force ghost, so Cyril's mom, but as a Force ghost who only appears at the worst times to offer nothing but criticism and disappointment. I can just see like a scene where Cyril's at Dedra's apartment and it's getting hot and heavy and he's like, hold on, he has to go to the bathroom and he's like looking in the mirror, talking himself up like, you can do this. And then all of a sudden she comes in, you can't do this. Boner immediately goes down.
He's never been able to like get to completion with Deirdre because like she's just nagging in his ear the whole time.
Do you think she's enjoying this? She's not enjoying
the only time she shows up is when he starts getting hard.
It's like an alert to her.
I mean, that mom wouldn't be having any of that, so
no,
I'd watch that series.
No, you don't.
Disney Plus after dark.
Yeah, she probably doesn't approve of Dedra. I mean, she's probably like, oh, not her.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for answering our question of the week. Appreciate it. I guess next week what we'll do is we'll probably just have one that runs a little bit long, so you'll have extra time to get your question of the week answers into us.
Get them in, along with your emails.
News. No security blanket for Linus. So it's a slow news week, but I do have some bad news, Jay.
Uh-oh.
Our dear friend Linus Mosk from Andor will not be back in season 2.
I know. I think this is an injustice. This is like something where I've been on board with
Andor.
Yeah, but the guy's name.
Cyril?
Nope, the writer.
Oh, Tony Gilroy.
Tony Gilroy. I've been on board with Tony Gilroy the whole time. He's flawless. He hasn't messed anything up. And then all of a sudden I read this and I'm like, I know there's a lot of shit he's got to get to and this character doesn't really like probably fit into the overall story, but I'd squeeze him in. He was so much fun. There's purpose for him. Or there's a Linus spinoff coming.
Oh yeah, now that would be something.
Yes.
I don't know if he could carry a whole show, but I think he's a good side character. Yeah, Alex Ferns, the actor, responded on Twitter to somebody talking about it and was like, sadly, I won't be in season 2, et cetera.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, he could be blowing smoke, but it seems like they could certainly say that storyline's been exhausted if they want. But I feel bad because the last scene we saw, if you recall,
just swinging some
he's just sitting
hooch.
there. Yeah, just sitting there in like an alley with a flask. And I mean, what had happened? He went to support his homie. And what does his homie do? Fucking drops him for a girl. The second it happens, he gets an opportunity, he's gone. Just drops him.
Typical bro.
Typical. I mean, come on. We were homies. And it makes you wonder, what's he going to go back and do now? Is he going to go back to smelting? Is he going to be like a mall cop somewhere? What the fuck's he going to do?
Yeah, I don't know. Is he stuck on the planet? Like, well, yeah. There's a lot of questions that now we need answered.
I know we do.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be handled in the comics. Anyway, that was it. That was it for news. Very, very small. Well, the only other thing that was newsworthy was that they're delaying the Jedi Survivor game.
Right.
About 6 weeks. They're pushing it out. So I mean, I would rather they do that, get it right, because they said they were still going through bug fixes and stuff. So I'd rather they get it right than have a bunch of people screaming about it and having to do a bunch of updates. So makes sense to delay. Besides, we got a bunch of other shit going on right now.
It'll still be ready by summer. Yeah, really. Actually, it works out because, you won't have to stop your game to go watch The Mandalorian or The Bad Batch. Just wait until the season's end, go buy your game. Boom, you're good. You're covered till the summer when whatever else comes out next.
Have we decided? Synergy.
Is it Ahsoka? Is that what we're saying is coming out next?
Ahsoka would be next, and I'm guessing it's Ashoka, and I'm guessing it's probably summer.
Yeah.
I just don't know when. Yeah. Maybe June. I don't know. All right. Let's talk about The Bad Batch. I want you to admit it right now. You really enjoyed Wrecker doing Wookiee noises, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Sitting at the table. Just everyone else is drinking these little cups, and he's got the big one like the Wookiee, and he's just... and
the Wookiee is laughing at him. Like, this guy's great. He made instant
You can't have a bad time with Wrecker, I feel.
I don't think so.
You just can't.
Only that one episode where his head was all fucked up and he would try to kill Omega. Other than that, he's a good hang.
Omega seems to be all right with it though. She trusts him still. So
she got over that fast. They're homies now. I did like that we're getting back in touch with kind of the Order 66 stuff, and the Jedi. A little bit of a touch of the Empire as well this episode, so that was good to see. I'm going to guess you enjoyed this more than last week's episode. I did.
And this, if I recall, because we talked before, and it's been so long since I've looked at any of that stuff or looked back at it, is the lost episodes of the season of the Clone Wars they didn't make. And I think some of this stuff was pulled, reused, even though it was never used.
Yes, you're right. I'll get into it more when we go through the blow by blow, but that was interesting and kind of got my attention. Was there were certain things. There was a reference that I looked up, and then I realized that it was tied to those lost episodes, which I'll mention later because I didn't realize just how deep those things went. Just looking up a little bit of information on them, there was a lot of content there to be shared that never was.
Right, yeah. They had quite a bit of it. It was really shitty CGI, right?
It was almost
the first sketch version. Yeah, is what it was. Yeah, and I think there was some of that stuff.
Yep. Okay, so Tribe. So we start off, and the Bad Batch is traveling to some smuggling outpost called Vanguard Axis, which I don't think has been mentioned before. Basically just this big ship orbiting a planet and manned by these droids that kind of sort of resemble L3 from Solo.
Yeah.
They kind of have that disc head.
Yep.
And they're there to sell Imperial chain codes. But of course, while hanging out, minding their own business, what happens? Omega hears something. I better investigate. Always.
And I like how they're abusing this Wookiee just off the left corridor.
Yeah,
they can't even get into a room. They're just we're gonna beat this dude right here in the shipment yard. It's just.
I can't remember what their line was when she showed up and said you're hurting him. They turned around and said something, and it was just so comical. I can't remember what they said, but yeah,
I don't remember.
Yeah, they're tasing this poor guy,
and
you're like, holy shit. So she goes in there and kind of helps free him, and we come to find out, of course, that this is. Well, so I always thought it was Gungi.
That's what I thought it was.
But it's Gungi. They're saying Gungi. So as this all goes down, the Bad Batch is having this conversation with kind of the head of the droids, and all of a sudden the alarm bells start going off. And they're like, we're going to just go check that out right now.
And who is it? Is it because Echo is the one that stayed back with her, so it had to have been Tech, right? He said that blaster fire either means one of two things.
Yeah, Omega or Echo.
Yeah, you know who it is. So
immediately knows who it is. So they go to investigate these droids, and then that's when the Bad Batch comes behind him, and essentially a firefight happens. And that's when we see him. That's when he reveals himself as a Jedi because he pulls the lightsaber off the guy's belt, and so you realize, holy shit, that's Gungi. They escape in the Marauder. Well,
Gungi has a bit of trust issues,
and he should.
Yeah, he's like, I don't know if I want to get on this ship. It's a lesser of two evils. What's going to happen here? Am I going to end up in here and they're going to just kill me for my pelt? What's going on?
Your gear looks a little different, but it was you motherfuckers that attacked us all. Yeah. So, and the thing that's interesting too is, for those who don't remember Gungi was part of the Clone Wars. It was one of the younglings that went to, I think it was Ilum to get kyber crystals with Yoda back in there.
Yeah.
So. He's basically been on the run the whole time. Obviously he was enslaved for a part of that, but he's cause he said, he's been on the run since Order 66. That's probably a year and change ago at this point in the timeline. Poor Gungi.
And I realized that this is the first time we've seen a Jedi since the first episode.
Since the first episode?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, we've seen I'm pretty sure it was when we.
You might be right. When we see the huge first episode.
Kanan and
Kanan and
she
Deba
dies,
Blaba.
he runs, and that's it. I don't think we've seen a Jedi since.
Damn, I think you might be right. That's crazy. Huh.
Yeah.
Then, like you said, he's very distrustful, and he's trying to get back to Kashyyyk. And so they decide, okay, let's, we're going to take him there. Of course, Omega's like, we got to take him there.
I love the two things that this show does well.
Yeah.
One, they can never fucking complete a mission. And two, all she has to do is like, can we go? You remember like when you were a kid trying to get your parents to take you somewhere? Like, no, we're going home. Or your kids do it to you.
Right.
They're fucking like the second she wants to go somewhere is all right.
Yeah. It's like I said last week, the most enabling parents ever. They're just total pushovers. So they're always kind of like, okay, I guess you're probably right. I mean, she and I guess maybe to a degree Echo are kind of the moral compass of the team, but they really adhere to whatever.
I mean, Hunter's been a dad long enough now where he just throws his hands up in the air. He doesn't even like put up the fight anymore. Because last scene he was always like, no, we got to do this, or no. Now he's just like, all right.
Yeah. It's not worth the fight. It's like the old adage, happy wife, happy life. He just figures I'm better off just not arguing and just going along with it. I'll be happier in the end.
Yep.
Even if it costs me my life. So she signs them up to go to Kashyyyk, and Echo's like, yeah, they might have some Imperial outposts out there. At the same time, I'm thinking, aren't you also kind of worried about the fact that the Wookiees' last experience with clone troopers was watching them try to kill Yoda? So they're all going to be like, who the fuck are you?
Well, yeah, that's true.
Because that's how Gungi felt.
But also, like, they seem to be worried about, okay, I didn't think about it at the time, but like when they said Imperial outposts, I'm thinking they're worried they're going to kind of go into that having the Wookiee, right, knowing he's a Jedi, but they don't seem too worried about themselves running into anybody.
Right, yeah.
Like, you guys are wanted men too, don't forget.
Just as wanted, if not,
Yeah.
So they get on Kashyyyk, and by the way, were you aware that Kashyyyk has 3 Ys in it? I learned that while typing up some notes. It's 3 Ys.
Just spell it till it looks misspelled, and you got it.
Oh my God, so many Ys. So they get there, they start making their way to the village, and then the dum-dums are like, hey, let's cut through these spider webs. This is a good place to go. There's a reason those webs are there. You know that, right?
Yeah. I wouldn't cut through them.
No. Of course they get trapped. The spiders come down, but luckily Gungi's there to kind of like connect with them, and they essentially let them pass as not being threats. And then they come upon this village that they were looking for, and it's just been devastated. It's just destroyed.
Yeah. It burned.
And they're like, they have Imperial tanks here? Like, what's going on? So then they hear some noise and find, there's some fucking Trandoshans. Now, this is interesting because we know Trandoshans and Wookiees are a problem. Yeah. We learned this a lot.
I feel like this might be a little bit of origin as to why.
It could be part of it. I mean, it also goes back to do you remember in the Clone Wars when they were doing that fucking Wookiee hunt episode or whatever it was, where Ahsoka ended up with a couple other younglings on that planet, and they ended up meeting Chewbacca and that guy Dar. Remember that guy Dar? You'd always say his name.
No.
They were hunting. They were like hunting them like for sport.
Okay.
And he had all these Wookiee pelts in his fucking crib. I mean, it was nasty business.
I'll have to look this up.
Trandoshans are a bunch of
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, and this works for the Empire, right? Because they don't have to send troops. They just give these Trandoshans who hate the Wookiees a couple of separatist old fucking Clone Wars tanks and send them in there and like, hey, go rid these people. We don't want them either. So
yeah, and then they're like, two clone troopers are like, you guys got to go too. Like, what? Yeah. Why do we have to go? We need a presence.
Yeah, just 2 of them. You got to watch
report back. Just report back. That's all you got to do. Just observe. Then this is what. So there's this conversation with one of the Trandoshans and someone called Commander Venomore. That's how this guy talks. He's got this horrendous lisp, and So I look up Commander Venomore, and this is when I come upon what you were talking about, the Clone Wars Untold Stories. That he was a character in that. And so I didn't realize, so I'm looking up the information, and again, I don't know if I found the right resource on it, but it was saying there's like a 10-part miniseries, and each part's 2 hours, so like a 4-episode arc. This shit runs deep, and it includes the Boba Fett Cad Bane showdown with the shot to the helmet.
Yep.
So it's got all that stuff in it, and you're right. All the visuals you see when you look it up is all that previs or kind of rough animation. So they just kind of sketched it out, but there's a lot there. That's what is that? 20 hours of stuff. I mean, that's a whole season.
That's what it's going to be, but I don't think they prevised all of it. I think there was a big chunk of stuff that I thought at one point they released it. I know I've seen shit before. I just don't know where I saw it. years and years ago.
Yeah, well, there's a lot there, and like you said, they're pulling bits of that, and that's what I like. I like when they pull kind of bits out of that stuff that was whatever, like concept or legends or whatever, and they pull it and bring it back into canon and the stuff that we're seeing. I always like that.
I mean, Filoni's like, you can cancel this, but my next show I'm using it, so
right. I'm
gonna
keep this around.
Coming out.
I didn't write this for nothing.
Yeah.
On all these like cocktail napkins I have from the airplane rides. Yes. But the other thing that I thought was interesting too is one of the sites that I found this info on. It said it showed release dates and it said January 2025. What? So that must be wrong.
Huh.
I thought that was so funny. Maybe it meant to say 2005 and it never released. Anyway, back to our story. Venomore orders the other Trandoshan to just burn these carved statues they found. And that's when Gungi charges in and just starts fucking slicing dudes up left and right and shows off the prowess with the lightsaber.
But then he's got to carve his name into the side of the damn tank. So then they're like, there's a Jedi here.
I know.
We're going to put word out. Not if I kill it first. What do you mean? All the guy has to do is hit a button and do a radio signal. And you're like, hold the phone call.
It's just a little hollow in your hand. Say, hey, by the way, they don't want me to tell you this, but there's a fucking Jedi here. You know how you guys are like so focused on finding the last remnants of the Jedi? Uh-huh. I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to report this one.
Send an army here now.
Please. I don't think these Trandoshans are up for it. But some more Wookiees ride in after they are able to defeat them.
Yeah, what are these giant fucking ape owl looking things called?
With crazy ears. I don't know what those things are called. Yeah. I didn't look that up, but they're wild creatures.
Were those part of the drawings? I feel like I've seen those creatures somewhere before.
Oh, have you? I don't think I've seen them.
I wonder if they were from the lost episodes. Because
it looked like some sort of hybrid creature. It was weird.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, but holy shit, they're awesome.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. It almost looked like a combination of, I don't know what the head would be, but the body was almost like the thing that he was riding on Utapau. Kenobi, kind of one of those things.
This is like a furry version.
Yeah, it's a furry version. It's a friendlier version. They're not friendly, though. If they kick some ass themselves.
Yeah.
When we go back to the village and I saw those huts, that's when I thought holiday special. I thought we're going to see Lumpy and Itchy, and Itchy's going to be like fucking going to town on some softcore porn in his VR headset again, and this is going to be great. But we meet Yana, the village chieftain.
Tribal leader, yeah.
Yeah, who kind of accepts Gungi into the village. And you can tell that Gungi maybe was born there, but doesn't remember a fucking thing about it.
Right, yeah.
So, obviously taken at a young age. Thanks, Jedi Order.
Yep, that's what they do.
Fuckers. Kidnappers.
Yep. And
then Yana learns that the Trandoshans are heading that way, and so she advises the Batch, like, you should leave. And he's like, no, we're going to help you fight. And that's when the Wookiees are like, you know what? We're going to go talk to the trees, and we're going to see what they think.
Yeah.
Why don't you put the trees in charge?
We're going to see what they think.
So they come up with a plan, the trees. They're like, hey, here's what you should do. Ambush these motherfuckers and then bring in the spiders.
And it works. It's a flawless plan.
Listen to the trees. Did they not listen to the trees when the Empire first attacked, or when the Separatists were battling them on?
There wasn't time. Their translator was already dead, so they were
okay.
There's a little struggle there.
Fucking listen to the trees. Is listen to the trees like some sort of like euphemism? Like they just got to go smoke some weed and it'll all come to them? Is that what it is?
That's what it is. Yeah.
Yeah. So they ambush the Trandoshans and the two clone troopers that are with them, and draw them into the trees. And then that's where the spiders are waiting there. And so they start banging on the trees, and down come the spiders in waves. And so when you watched this episode, did you watch it on a TV? Did you have your earbuds in?
No, I was just on TV.
Oh, I had my earbuds in, and let me tell you.
Because you hear the screams?
Well, it was the the way they were moving, and it was like making my skin crawl. I was like, do I have something on me? Oh, fuck. Great work. Great Foley work there. Oh, man. So then the lead Trandoshan, Venomore, starts chasing after Gungi.
Yes.
And, of course, Omega goes after that, and you're like, okay, what's going to happen here? He's just fucking laying that flamethrower everywhere, burning everything to the ground.
Well, he doesn't even realize he's burning a circle around himself. So
yeah, he totally traps himself.
How's he gonna get out of
this? So yeah, Gungi attacks and disables his flamethrower, and luckily Gungi didn't get hit with the flamethrower, because burning hair, the worst.
Yeah.
The spiders descend and are like, "Hey, Gungi, we got you, bro. And they fucking cocoon the guy and drag him up into the tree. That's kind of a nasty death scene.
He is not going to have a good night.
I don't think so. I don't think he's surviving that.
No.
And then we basically end up back with the Bad Batch celebrating, like we were talking about before, with Wrecker doing some Wookiee
Every
talk.
night's a celebration.
Yeah, right. And that's when Yana explains to Hunter how, like, what does she say? It's like when a child leaves, the trees cry. When they return, the trees sing, and blah blah blah. And you're getting this realization from Hunter. He's like, these poor kids are not allowed to have an actual childhood. They're raised in war, and it's all they know. Hopefully someday we'll find a place, or we'll make this world a place where that's not the norm. You know, thinking obviously about Omega.
Yeah.
And that was kind of it. Did I miss anything?
Nope, nailed it.
So a couple things. One, you've always felt Omega's Force sensitive.
Yes.
Do you feel like there was some connection with her and Gungi that was Force related?
I don't know, because, well, I mean, at first it seems like when they're on Omega Prime, or wherever the fuck the place was they're at the beginning,
Vanguard,
she's sitting on the ramp.
Access.
Before you hear the noise or whatever, she's already like, something don't feel right. You know, she's already, something's happening. And then with her, she seems very, and it didn't come across to me like she was just like being sympathetic to Gungi and talking to the trees. It was like she felt it as well. That's and that's like the first time I think this season where they've kind of like, oh, remember, this might be a thing. At least that's how we're taking it, right? Yeah. So what do you think?
I still don't know. I'm still not convinced she's Force sensitive. It's certainly possible. I just think so much of her storyline is going to just be tied to all that cloning stuff. And yeah, I mean, it's possible that the Force sensitivity plays into that, of course, because that's what we're seeing with the Mandalorian and Grogu. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could totally see him doing it. I could totally see him saying, yeah, she's Force sensitive, obviously. But for some reason, I just can't quite get there. I don't know that she is. I don't know. What's up next? So the next 2 episodes, it's a double episode release coming out next week. One is called The Clone Conspiracy, and the other is called Truth and Consequences. So either way, we're going to get some major storyline here. So for those who have been kind of waiting for the thing to ramp back up, I think you're going to get it. I mean, I would assume we'll see Crosshair again. I would assume we'll see that fucking cunt Admiral Rampart. But but what I thought about was Clone Conspiracy. Is that a reference to clone troopers? Or is that a reference to the cloning project stuff and the stuff that we got a taste of with that Mount Tantus stuff at the end of season 1? Will we actually get something along those lines in that Clone Conspiracy? That's what I was wondering.
My guess was it was kind of a tie-in to both.
Could be.
The old and the new, right?
Yeah.
But I think, we need to see the Mount Tantus and what they're up to, which will lead us to, because that'll be, in 2 weeks? So we're getting close to Mandalorian.
We still got a month. We got a month from today till Mandalorian.
Right,
But yeah, so are you thinking that they might be trying to time it so that like stuff is revealed in the Bad Batch that then we see in the Mandalorian?
And then we see the Mandalorian with Pershing as well, yeah. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that would make sense because Pershing's definitely involved in that. There's no way that Mount Tantus thing at the end of season 1 was just a throwaway, like, hey, we're just going to throw this in for fun and not actually explore it at all in season 2. Right. That'd be weird. So we're already halfway through the season.
We'll wait until people aren't watching again, and then we'll bring that plot line back.
Right. Just show a random shot of like Nala Se just drinking a cup of tea or something. That's it. Like, what?
Fucking elevator. Meanwhile.
And then that's it. That's it for the season. You just Nala Se one shot. Yeah, I don't want to set myself up for disappointment. I have a feeling these next 2 episodes are going to be pretty fucking great. Like the best of the season so far. I think they're going to give us a lot.
To me, I'm thinking this is like your tie-in to the season finale. Like
yes, right.
Sequel episodes, right? It's a boom. We're going to get that thread is going to pick up and start moving along. It's got to. It's been slow moving.
It has been slow moving, and I think by putting those 2 together, it means that it's going to be like one giant episode. I would think.
Yeah, agreed.
So that will be fun. Yeah, I can't think of anything else. I mean, I think the other episode after that is called The Crossing. I have no idea what that's going to be because we will be reviewing 7 and 8 and then 9 as well because of our recording schedule. So it'll be interesting to see what that is. I don't know if that's like it's The Crossing and then Retrieval. So conceivably somebody's going to get captured. The crossing could mean a lot of things. It could be a place. It could be a double crossing.
Crosshairs. Returning back to the Bad Batch.
Perhaps, and they retrieve him in Retrieval.
There we go. See?
God,
we figured it out.
Let's write this out right now.
Tune in next month when we figure out the rest of the series.
Have they filmed this yet? Are we giving them ideas?
Tabloids listening right now. They're like, shit, they got a good idea.
Hold on. Let's make some edits. Yeah. Remember when we delayed Fallen Order, Survivor, or whatever?
Right.
We're gonna have to push this back a little bit. These guys had some good ideas.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. I'm just glad that we hit that lull, and I think we're starting to ramp back up. Because even though this one was still its own sort of mission of the week, kind of, it tied to the bigger storyline.
Right. Yeah. It had some Clone Wars elements to it. Characters we've seen before. It was nice seeing a Jedi. So yeah, this one was just as like no point in it really having it really structurally, I would think, other than it fits in better overall than the last episode. Yeah,
it felt like some of the kind of sort of moving the story along episodes of season 1. Like last week just really felt like it kind of stalled a little bit.
Yeah.
This week it felt like they're giving us something.
Last week's episode was like written by a Make-A-Wish kid or something.
We are going to see Genoa again. You know that.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was it for this week. Interested to hear what everybody else's thoughts are. And yeah, we don't have Maulbag, so we can't go into Maulbag. And we got no Factoid. This is a short episode.
We're gonna we got a bonus supersized episode coming next time we come back. Not including the one that we're gonna release for the Star Wars 100.
It'll be long. That next one will be long.
The one we come back, we're going to have a ton of questions of the week. We're going to have emails from you, the listener. You can write in and tell us your thoughts on all the episodes. And you know what? We'll be on mic as long as you keep us here. And if you don't, then you know what? We're not going to quit. We're just not going to give you an episode. We're going to record one, and we're just going to share it with ourselves.
That's right. Yeah. I'll edit it and everything.
Yeah. Send it to me. I'm like, oh, that's really good.
That sounds great. We should share it with people now.
They deserve nothing. So that's it. We ain't got a factoid either. I'll look one up. I'll have one next time for the supersized episode. We love you. Thank you for listening. And until next time.
In our experience, there's no such thing as luck.
We have spoken.